What up, everybody? Welcome to Coffee Hour. It is the 1st of July, so you made it. Half the year's over. If you had any ambitions and plans that you wanted to get done by the end of the first half of the year, hopefully you achieve those. And now you're looking to enjoy the spoils of all that hard work for the second part of the year. Or maybe you're still hustling, trying to build that dream. Thanks for joining us here on Coffee Hour. We do this every morning, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. Eastern Time on many platforms that you can watch on. My favorite platform to watch on, obviously, is over on Fast Tracks Tube. But you can watch on YouTube on multiple channels. Coffee Hour with Paul, that's our backup channel. And of course, Master the NEC is our main channel over on YouTube. Over on LinkedIn, you can join up and hook up with me at Paul W. Abernathy, or you can follow us on Electrical Code Academy if you're choosing over on LinkedIn. And then you can watch us on our Facebook channels, Master the NEC. And of course, so we do stream on another Facebook channel, but that's a private channel that is only for people that are very close to me. So I'd stream there in case they want to keep up with things that we do. But our main Facebook page is Master the NEC. Now, Facebook does not allow us to stream to groups anymore. So if you're in the Coffee Hour group, you'll notice that you won't see any streams, because that's just a policy change by Facebook. They don't allow anybody to stream to an actual group anymore, that type of scenario. So anyway, thanks for joining. Glad to have you here. As always, I live vicariously through you and your success. Again, I love to see you be successful, whether you're in our programs or not, whether you just are watching us every morning, you're still part of the Fast Tracks family. So let me know who you are, where you're from in the comments, and any shout outs that you want to shout out, any successes, any plans you have for the future. If you have any questions, feel free to post them in there. I'll do my best to try to answer them. Today, we're going to look at a typical run to, let's say, a panel in the basement, a feeder that's going to like a workshop in the basement. Okay, so you've got your service load calculation, which should have already been done. That's going to cover your small appliances and laundry and all. Here, we're talking about what's going to be supplied by this panel specifically to being installed in the work area of a basement. So we're just gonna work on a feeder that's to a shop area, that type of thing. Okay. All right. So that's our mission today and how we would calculate that out. Let's see here. Let's do some shout outs real quickly to everybody so we can get those done and then get into today's kind of little feeder calculation lesson. And again, don't overthink it. We're simply going to be calculating out for this feeder and what portions of this dwelling that it will be supplying, okay? That's all we're focusing on in today's lesson. Of course, ask any questions you want. We'll go to the code if necessary and do those type of things. So let's do some shout outs. Paul, what's up? Thank you for joining us this morning, as always. David, our CMECP down in Florida. Thanks for joining us, David. Marlon's in the house. Good morning. Glad to have you here, my friend. Shouting out to the code nerds. And let's see here. JPB is in the house. Appreciate you. Thank you for joining us, JPB. Get you up there on the screen. What's up, Seattle or Seattle? Or still haven't corrected how I'm saying it, but I appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. Brandon's in the house. Brandon, glad to have you here. Master electrician down in Houston, Texas. Whoop, whoop. Shout out to you, Brandon. All that hard work pays off. What's up, Frank the Great? 4th of July is near, folks. You know, there's people out there who are saying we don't celebrate 4th of July, or America's not great. First, I say leave. Secondly, I say, of course it's great. What a country. What a great mixture of people. Okay, it's just a melting pot of goodness. We just want people to come in the right way. But it's not that we don't want you. We just want you to come in the right way. That's all. I love everybody, every race, creed, religion. Everybody's welcome. It's a beautiful thing, and we celebrate our independence on 4th of July. It's make it a great one, okay? And if you're in the Debbie Downs, turn that frown upside down and be thankful for everything we have. I'm thankful. Every time I see somebody that may have less than me or struggling, I really am really blessed again to think how blessed I am. I'm so blessed that I don't have to shave if I don't want to. How about that? There you go. Let's see what we got. Adam, what's up, Adam? All is well. welcome. Glad to have you here. Wife is doing okay. Everything looks good around the homestead. I was laying in bed last night and I felt something crawling. And I looked over and it was a damn spider. And my reflexes were like, bam. So I may have turned a year older yesterday, but I still got them cat-like reflexes. I was like, wham! Now, here's the problem. I couldn't find it. I thought I killed it. Anyway, paranoia. The spider was about that big. My wife was like, it could be in the bed. I'm like, but anyway, but that was cat-like reflexes, but maybe it wasn't as good as I thought because I couldn't find the sucker. I thought, man, thought I got him. Anyway, let's see. Good morning, Angel. Glad to have you here. I am doing good this morning. Cannot complain at all. We're going to do a little bit of talking feeders today. A little bit of 215, a little bit of calculation, a little bit of something today. So crypto, good morning. Glad to have you here. Let's see here. What else do we got? Erie, fast track students, working hard, I hope, in the program. Welcome. Oh, hopefully many of you took advantage of the discounts that we offered for the 2023 Fast Tracks Enhanced and the grounding and bonding one. That ended midnight last night. So hopefully you got into that. I don't run specials often, but I did run one. So kind of a birthday special. If you didn't get into it, sorry. If you're saying, Paul, I didn't see it, run it again, too late. You'll have to wait. Let's see here. Every now and then I run them. So it just when you see me run a special on something, if you want it, jump on it. All right. What's up, Red Dog?
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
All right. Let's see who we got here. We got Edward Ellis is in the house. Chad, I see you, Chad, in the house for the hashtag win. Okay. All right. So we're starting the third quarter. Now, on the contest quiz, you'll still see it say June 30th. I forgot to change it. Okay. We can change it live, but I forgot to change it. So the actual, what is it? I think it's September 30th. I can't remember if that's let's see here. If that's the next date, let me go look and see here. Yes, September 30th is going to be when the deadline is going to be for the third quarter. So, well, these people that win today at the end of the show, you got to stay right to the end. If your name gets drawn, then you will be added, and that drawing will take place after the 30th of September. This quarter's drawings we're putting together, Jeff, we're putting together the drawing to go into the hat. So look for that sometime either the end of this week or first of next week. I will have a show. One of the coffee hours will be the drawing show like we usually do. And we'll pull your name out and you'll give a unique email address. And so it'll all be much smoother this time, but most of you got everything. So no problems. Little delay, but we're getting more efficient. A little bit more efficient. What's up, Peter? Glad to have you here. Good morning, David. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Good morning, Peter. All right. Okay. Did add a few things to the wheel that we agreed on. We're going to have a meeting later today, me and Jeff, because we got a teleconference. We're working on something today. But we did add coasters. So Slate coasters with electrician rules. It's a new logo that we've come up with is going to be on it. Okay, so it's very generic towards electricians, but it's not going to say master or journeyman. It's just electricians. Keep it simple. And it's a new logo we're doing. I don't have a sample to give you yet because we're waiting on the actual Slate coasters to come in, but they're really nice with feet on them, so they shouldn't mar up your coffee tables and stuff like that. So we'll be having some of those that'll go on the spin, and we are looking at possibly customizing those for you as well. But right now it looks like it's just going to be a good old generic electrician coaster. Everybody should have a good coaster. Don't need to be tearing up. Don't need to be tearing up anybody's coffee tops and countertops and things like that. What's up? Let's see here. What's up, Adam? Dual citizenship. That's awesome. I get to celebrate the 3rd of July English and the 4th of July now. I'm a proud American. Awesome. That's what I'm talking about.
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
Beautiful thing. I believe in everybody coming to this country. Again, so, it's just do it the right way. You know what I'm saying? That's all I ask. I'm not anti-immigrant, I just say do it the right way. That's all I care about. You say, well, what's the right way? The right way. The right way. Come through documentation, paperwork, do it the right way. That takes too long. Well, so does getting your electrician's license. You got to put in that time to make that dime. You know what I'm saying? All right. What's up, Miles? Hi, Miles. I did get your email. Thank you for the order. You order from the website. I do appreciate it. I always tell people I made a whopping $10 on your order online. That's our markup for our stuff is very little because it's print on demand. It's expensive. So we make very little. But we appreciate every dime. We thank you for it. We prefer to just think about giving the swag. But I did get it, and so I will get your ultimate coin sent out to you. So I did get that. Thank you for finally reaching out to us for that, Miles. So I appreciate it. All right. Let's get into discussions today. If you have any questions that may come to mind during our discussion, please, by all means, feel free to bring them up, ask them. I'll address them the best that I can. And your questions can be seen on the screen. Folks, I'm also shouting out to those over on TikTok who are watching behind the scenes. Yes, we are streaming back on TikTok again, thanks to my rational thinking board who said that I was a bit harsh on TikTok. And I don't think I was harsh. I just think that I get too involved in political posts. Everybody knows where I'm at. It doesn't mean I dislike the other party. I really don't. I have Democratic friends, Republican friends, independent friends. I get along generally with everybody, but I'm quick to ban people because I just have a low tolerance for BS. But they ruled that we unban, except for a couple people. I did not because I put my foot down. But generally everywhere else, unbanned. You can watch us over on TikTok if you want. But they don't control my ban finger. So again, I'm back to banning if I want to ban. So they'll just have to have another meeting and they didn't tell me I couldn't ban. They just said I had to unban. So anyway, now they see this, they'll probably think otherwise. But anyway, all right, let's kind of look at what we're talking about today. In today's lesson, we're going to be talking about load to a feeder panel. We'll just call this feeder panel panel A. This feeder panel, in this case right here, this panel is located in the shop area of a basement. Okay. It supplies a portion of the lighting load as well as receptacles and appliances and equipment in that area. So here's an interesting thing to think about. So if I had an electrical design, folks, and I was designing this out, and you're doing the 3 VA per square foot, then I might already account for this area, right? But it would be in the service panel, not the feeder panel. But if you knew this panel was going there and this was part of a feeder you're running down to a panel as a design, and maybe you're the electrician and you're doing this and you got the service, it has its load, and you have a specific area that is just for this feeder. Well, I don't want to take the 3 VA per square foot for this whole area and put this all in the service area, right? Or do I? Well, you have to think about it. The service is going to be seeing all of this load. Even though I'm running to a feeder, the service is going to see it all. But when I'm sizing for that feeder, I have to take into consideration what that feeder is seeing as well, right? So this doesn't take the place of what our service count is because that covers the overall load. Now, the reason we call it a feeder panel is because we're feeding from a service downstream or on the load side. We're feeding another panel. Or a load center, if you will, in residential application. But we have to size that feeder because now I always like to think about it's what the conductors see when I'm doing a load calculation. So if I'm going from the feeder, from the panel, on the load side of an overcurrent protected device, and I'm going to be supplying the line side of, let's say, a panel board downstream, right? Which doesn't necessarily need a main breaker, right? Because it's protected by the breaker that's up in the service panel. So I can have a main lug only, right? Down inside of the, let's say in this case, the shop area in the basement. And I want a panel down there. Now, I have specific loads that are going to be fed from that panel. So this is all about sizing that feeder to that. Now, some people call that panel a sub panel. And a lot of people cringe when they hear the word sub panel. Sometimes as electrical experts as we are, we like to think we're holier than thou, and we go, oh no, don't call it a sub panel. It's never a sub. I don't see a sub anywhere. I tell those guys, and I've learned and I've evolved through the years, I tell, shut the hell up. We are electricians. I'm an electrician. Okay, I've got the cuts to prove it. I've been in the field. I may not look like it now, but I did my share. I won the National VICA contest. Okay, I've been in the crawl spaces. Ask my brother. Okay, I've come face to face with a black snake who I didn't know black snakes could raise up. But I'm telling you, when I was in that crawl space, it was only about 18 inches and I was bellying it through there and I came face to face with it. I found out how quickly I could get my fat ass out of that crawl space. Okay. I'm just saying, I ain't messing with no snake. I don't care if it's a black snake. I don't care. All I know, I saw black color and all I saw was eyes. And shit, that could have been a water moccasin. I don't know. I didn't stick around long enough. Okay. So been there, done that. That was funny. No, I didn't soil myself, but my brother got a big laugh out of it. So anyway, I think my brother was there. He might not have been there. It might not have been my brother. It might have been, I can't remember when it was. Anyway, that was when I was back younger days, right? Yes, we did get the job done, but a little differently. Okay. Good morning. Some more shout outs here. New places here. Manny is here. I see you, Manny. David Carter's here. Jay, good morning. I see you in here as well. Dwayne, I see you. Dwayne, a fairly new fast track student in our program. Let's see here. Rob, I see you in here, Rob. Irvin, I see you in here, my friend. Thank you. I see Christopher. I see you in here as well. And there we go. There's our latest CMECP. Tom, I will get your email out to you right now. We're just final touches on that. And we will get that out to you. But you are official. Okay, so welcome. All right. Okay, where was I? What was I talking about? Okay, so some people call it sub panel and some people cringe at the calling it sub panel. I don't, because it's slang. We're used to things like slang. The same people that have a problem with calling it sub panel are the people that actually call single phase. They go phase to phase and they don't understand that it's not phase to phase. Okay, it's just one phase. Okay, it's single phase. Same people. Or they call a light bulb when it's really a lamp. So, I mean, look, if you're not going to try to be 100% perfect on everything, then why even try? We all know what it is. It's a remote distribution panel. It's a remote load center. It's a sub panel. Why is it okay for me to call it a sub panel? Because it is a subdomain system. It goes from the service subdomain downstream to another panel. So, sub panel. It's okay. Relax. Does the NEC say anything? Well, if you do a search on the NEC, I think sub panel does show up once in the code somewhere, but not generally for what we call it. It's something else. Okay. I haven't checked lately. It may be gone by now. All right, let's go back to the lesson. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to look at a normal, typical load center. And I just want you to know that this panel is supplying the lighting load as well as receptacles and appliances and equipment in this specific area, which is the shop area. So this is very common. Somebody calls you out and they say, hey, I want you to run me a feeder down to a panel that's in my work area. That's fine. Just remember, folks, that if these are new loads, and this is like existing application, and these are new loads, then there's a high probability that they did not take this into consideration on the service, okay? Because you may be adding, maybe it was unfinished, so they may have compassed the 3 VA per square foot, right? They may have gotten that because it is an adaptable location, adaptable space. But what they may not have done is they didn't know what new appliances you may be adding down there. They didn't know those type of things that would be added. So you have to take those things into consideration. So there is a calculation for where you have an existing dwelling and you're adding an additional panel. You have to make sure that the original service can handle all these additional loads. Now, since I'm running a feeder, I need to make sure that the feeder is sized for these new loads that are going to be added, that type of thing. And if I'm sizing the feeder, I want to make sure that the new loads that I'm adding are accommodated by the original service. Okay, so your work is cut out for you. We're not going to be evaluating an existing service. We're only going to be looking at the feeder. But these are just so many things as an electrician you need to think about. And this is why you spend the time working in the field, asking your master questions. Hopefully your master can answer those questions. And if not, then find somebody that can answer those questions for you. Reach out to us. Go to paulabernathy.com. Maybe you have a very specific question and make sure you ask that question. We want to make sure you get the answers. That's for sure. Adam's got a quick question about the CMECP course. I was wondering if I have to get approved to take the journeyman course. No, you don't. You still have to fill out the thing originally and give us your journeyman's number, and so that we can verify you are a journeyman. Okay. Now, I tell people this all the time. If you want to get in our CMECP journeyman program, even if you're not a journeyman, that's fine. If you want to spend the money to learn, that's fine. It's an expensive program. And somebody said to me, what if I get into it and I'm not a journeyman? How will we know? Well, you don't have to. So yeah, you can purchase it, Adam, but you're not going to proceed in the CMECP program until you're a master. So you got 12 months. So if you weren't a journeyman, it wouldn't make any sense. So we assume people know this. And so if they're a journeyman, because the next step would be a master. And you can pay for the course, go through the course. But if you don't achieve a master license or equivalent by the end of 12 months, then all you get was the course. You don't get to move any further into the CMECP program. So on the journeyman one, it's pretty much an honor system. If you want to purchase it, that's fine. But you can't move to the fourth step, the proctored exam, unless we have proof that you actually achieved master licensure before that, because it's not an exam prep program. Okay, so you get what I'm saying? So again, you can go on and purchase it if you want, and we'll put you on the honor system if you're a journeyman. Get what I'm saying? But just remember, don't get upset if somebody buys that course or gets into that program, 12 months comes and they're like, how do I move to the next step? And you're not a master, you can't move to the next step. Okay, so just so you understand all those rules. All right. Let's say Dwayne's got the flashcards and loves them. Great. We got more flashcards coming. Dwayne, those flashcards that we have, folks, help you learn the code articles. And just it's kind of something that you do at the end of a training session or every other day. You just freshen yourself. Never click the complete button, please. I reset you if you need to. But basically, you're just trying to flashcard and learn the code articles. It just makes life a little easier. We have a new flashcard set coming out for calculations. Okay, and they're just to keep you sharp, keep you learning stuff. So we have a bunch more of those flashcard series coming out as well. So thanks for that. Santana, good morning. Who else we got? Joseph, good morning from New Jersey. Gearing up for the 4th. Adam, you're good to go. Absolutely. There you go. Poppy's in the house. Welcome, Poppy. All right, let's get back to the lesson. All right, so that's what we're doing today, just so y'all know. Now, one of the benefits, and people know this, and I just did a couple months, well, now it's probably more than a couple months, probably 8 or 9 months ago, or maybe even more now. God, time flies, doesn't it? I was in Texas, and I was the expert witness on a case in Oklahoma, and the electrician, folks, and this is all relevant to today's topic, by the way. The electrician, this was like a 20,000 square foot house, okay? The electrician put all the panels in the garage on one side. And yeah, granted, it was an 8-car garage, He put in 4 400 amp panels, put them in the garage. Did not put a remote distribution panel, a sub panel. He didn't put that anywhere else in this house. Guys, I don't know who's designing systems today, but I am not running all these 12-2s. And yeah, 12-2s with the voltage drop, and that's probably why they had AFCI issues, although the AFCI manufacturers won't say anything. Okay, yeah, Ralph, I see your message. So what they did was, oh, and by the way, welcome, Ralph. They ran the home runs all the way back to the garage. So obviously that leaves more possibilities of damaging these home runs, having nails driven into them and all this kind of stuff. So in your design, why would you not spend the money to install remote distribution panels or remote load centers or whatever you want to call them? You want to stick to the slang, call them sub panels. It doesn't matter to me. Why would you not spend the time to locate them centrally through the dwelling? And in that size house, I would imagine I probably would have designed at least 2 centrally. So the one, my home runs aren't as long, right? And I mitigate voltage drop as much as I can, because you have less voltage drop on that 240 volt run than you would on the 120 volt runs. So it just was a really, really poor design. So I'm sure all of you electricians out there, when you're thinking about this example today, running a feeder to a remote panel, that it's to reduce the length of home runs It is to reduce voltage drops, and we don't know how that will affect sensitive electronic types of equipment that we're now putting in these dwellings. So, dude, I just prefer to not have those long home runs. But that is not what they had in Oklahoma. Okay. And so sadly, they still, I don't believe, have this AFCI issue figured out. And they've replaced a lot of stuff. And I'm telling you, I think the correlation is these long ass home runs. I'm just saying, that's what I think. Okay. Good morning, Petey. Glad to have you here. Hashtag win, folks. Put in the hashtag win to get on a spin later in the show. All right, so here we go. So this is what we're looking at. So we're doing this to reduce the home run. So we'll look at this table. It'll be a little hard for you to see. So we're going to kind of go over one piece at a time. Okay, now first things first. This area that we're supplying this feeder to, this panel, this area that's going to be supplied by this panel is about 1,812 square feet. Okay, so it's the outside dimensions of the space that we're working on. Okay, so 220.41. So we'll go to the NEC as we always do. We'll piece this together here. So we'll go to 21. There you go. So here you go. So we're doing it. So we're doing this specific area, right? So this is where we're going to get our 3 VA per square foot right there. Okay. Now, by the way, I remind folks that in the 2026, it is going to reduce this down to 2 VA per square foot when it comes to the calculation part. But the way it stands now, they're looking at trying to increase it to 4 VA per square foot to determine the minimum number of branch circuits you need for this area. Okay. Here's my thoughts. I think that it's going to refer back to the code panel. The code panel originally wanted it to be 3 VA per square foot like it's always been, but the NITMAMs made it 4. I think the code panel is going to reject what they did at the CAM. So guess what that means? It's ultimately going to go back to the way it was in the 2023 NEC, and that means it's going to be back at 3 VA per square foot. I think that's where we're ultimately going to end up at. Okay. So, all right. So back to the lesson. So 1,812 right there, 1,812. And we're going to do that at 3 VA per square foot because we're doing the feeder location. We're doing this panel loads for just this location. So that's going to give us 5,436 VA. Now, of course, y'all know that covers typically the lighting in that area. And that's going to cover the general use receptacles in that area. Okay. Now, remember, we're doing different because we're not doing the service. The service is already accounted. If this was adaptable space, then that already was counted in the service. Okay. We're trying to size the feeder for the specific load that's in this area. So this is all about sizing the conductors properly, right? And making sure that we know what specific loads. So we size the service. We got everything. The service conductors are done. Service can adequately handle the load. Now, in this case here, we're trying to find out what the feeder is going to be seeing, that feeder conductor, okay? That's what we're doing right now. Okay? So that. Now, obviously, we know that this does not include any open porch areas, workshop, master bedroom. Okay, this one includes the entry porch, the workshop, the master bedrooms, the study bedroom, bathroom, hall, and front bedroom. Okay, so there we got, that includes all of that in it, okay, for this portion. So this panel is feeding all of those areas, okay? All right, it looks like this feeder panel here is located in the shop area of the basement. But these are the loads that this feeder panel is going to be experiencing. Okay. Now, I'll remind you again, don't get confused with this is the feeder's load experience. The overall service accounted for all of these loads. So they're just installing this feeder panel in the basement, and it's to reduce the home run links. And this is the loads that this panel will be seeing. Not the service panel, this panel will be seeing. Okay. All right. So now we have to determine, so we know what this is going to be supplying. Now we have to determine, all right, so what are the minimum number of branch circuits that we need for this panel, this feeder panel? What's up, Beto? Glad to have you here. Make sure I'm caught up with everybody. A lot of names jumping in here. Make sure I'm caught up. Eddie Pace, I see you, Eddie. Let's see here. AJ, I see you in the house. Provident Power, I see you in the house. Thanks for joining. Okay, so minimum number. So now we have the VA per square foot. And again, we multiply that by 3 because it's 3 VA. What's up, Todd? Another CMECP in the house.
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
All right, so we're going to take that 5436. We're going to divide that by 120 to find out how many minimum number of branch circuits do we need. Okay, general use branch circuits. Okay, am I using the NEC? Of course I'm using the NEC. This isn't the NEC. This is a lesson today. We will be using the NEC, and we're giving you code references right here. Remember, we're using the 2023 edition. We don't care what edition you're on. We're always using the latest edition that's published, okay? All right, so this, we're determining the minimum number of branch circuits. So 5,436 divided by 120 is 45 amps. Now, whether or not we're going to be running 15 amp branch circuits for these general use, or we're going to be running 20 amp. You have a choice here because we're not talking about small appliance. We're not talking about laundry. That's not going to be supplied out of this panel. That's out of the service panel, okay? So this is just out of this feeder panel. So we have to know how many is the minimum number of circuits that we need. Can we have more than the minimum? Absolutely we can. Absolutely. We can have as many as you want, as many as your panel can handle, as many as your load calculation can support. Okay, if you want to put 2 receptacles on a circuit, that's up to you. You want to put 10, 15 receptacles on a branch circuit for a dwelling, that is up to you. It's all covered in the 3 VA per square foot for the general use receptacles and general lighting. That is totally up to you. The code doesn't dictate that. Please don't confuse the 180 VA per strap with residential. That is not residential. That is commercial. Okay, I have a general rule. Well, you follow the general rule if you want. If you want to do 10, you want to do 12, you do you, boo. But the code doesn't dictate that when it comes to dwelling applications, okay? So any here, but you do have to have a minimum number of branch circuits. So here is our 45 amps. We divide it by 15 if, and I know this may be hard to see for some of you. I can't change that. It is what it is. So that means that 45 divided by 15, let's get our trusty calculator out. 45 divided by 15 is 3, so that one's easy. You have to have at least 3 15 amp branch circuits to cover the general lighting and general use receptacles, okay? Now, if you decide you want to, you're that person that says, no, sir, Paul, no, sir, I'm going to be doing these on 20 amp branch circuits because I can, all right? All right, well, again, you do you. 45 divided by 20, that will still be 3 20 amps. Now, you're saying, wait a minute, 45 divided by 20 is 2.25, right? Well, you can't have a 0.25 of a circuit, folks, right? Y'all see that? You can't have a 0.25 of a circuit, so you're going to round that up to 3. So you're going to be having 3 circuits regardless of whether or not you want to run 15 amp circuits or you want to run 20 amp circuits. Remember, we're talking about general use here. Now, in this panel that we'll be installing, there is no small appliance branch circuit by this panel. That's covered in another panel. All right, it's covered up in the another feeder panel, or it's covered up in a service or whatever. Okay, so it's not covering that. And it's same for the laundry. There's no laundry that's being covered from the load that's going to this panel or the load calculation for this feeder panel. Okay. Also, let me explain a couple other things to you. You could have a situation, folks, where you have your meter and it comes out and it hits 2 separate disconnects, which also may be your emergency disconnects. So 230.85 for 1 and 2 family dwellings and things like that. Talk about emergency disconnection means. It may be emergency disconnects, and then it goes through that emergency disconnect and hits a service panel with a main breaker. Okay, and that's your service disconnect. Or you could have it outside where it's emergency disconnect and it's also the service disconnect, so it's serving double duty. You have those options in 230.85 that you can go look at, okay? But if you have 2 service disconnects outside, maybe just switches, okay, just a 200 amp switch maybe, then what you have is now you have service, and then you'll be supplying feeder panels on the inside, wherever you want. So this could be an example of what's being done here. Feeder panel A, feeder panel B. So your disconnects are outside, 200 amp, and now these feeders come in, and one's in the basement area, and one's in the top floor. And again, maybe they're doing this to reduce the home runs. That's all the beautiful thing about being an electrician is that you get to decide. And when people say they think a residential is like, I don't care about residential. I'm a commercial electrician. I'm an industrial. Those are the real electricians. We're the ones that work on switch gear. We're the real electricians. Get off of it. You're an electrician, whether or not you're running a branch circuit to a single device receptacle, or whether you're troubleshooting, whether you're doing residential, commercial, industrial. It doesn't matter, as Rock would say. It doesn't matter. You're an electrician. Just because you can follow blueprints, and maybe the hardest part of being a commercial electrician is understanding how to lay out where your stub ups are so that you're in the wall. That's probably the hardest part you got. But I get so tired of these electricians that go on social media and say, you ain't an electrician. Anybody can learn to bend conduit. Trust me, it ain't brain surgery. Okay. But usually you're following whatever's on the drawings. Okay. Residential, if you do bigger homes, then you have to be very creative. So again, I love them. I love all of it. Residential, commercial, industrial. The only challenging thing for industrial is sometimes you're going to be an electrician that's going to do like motor control applications and whatever, but that's just a skill. Once you learn it, anybody can learn a skill. Don't let anybody ever tell you that. And also, when some people say my state is harder than this state or my state's exam is harder than this state, tell them to shut up. If you learn the National Electrical Code, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Because if the test is based on the NEC, it doesn't matter the state, what their test is like. It doesn't matter. Now, some states may have additional questions like laws and regulations, okay? Some states may have OSHA requirements. It's not tough. Just learn those requirements. Okay, stop propagating, get people worried about passing exams. Dude, I got people that pass exams all over the country. Okay, every exam I've ever taken or helped develop, it's all code. So I can't speak for the other stuff, and some states may give you a little more, but at the end of the day, if you understand the code and you learn it, you can find anything in that book, then it's all good. Okay? All right. Where am I at? Okay, stop. Usually I tell people, stop freaking yourself out. Okay, the hardest part that I found with commercial, as I told you, was making sure that I can look at a set of drawings and understand where my stub ups were in a slab. Because ain't nobody going to start pointing fingers, and the plumbers and everybody's going to start pointing fingers, is when you get that shit wrong and it ends up not being in the wall. Now, I can't help it if the contractor or the builder doesn't do it right. So my advice to apprentices that are doing commercial work, here's some advice real quick. Get with somebody there who understands how to lay things out. It's an important skill to learn. If you're there and you're the only electrician and you're not really sure, don't be afraid to ask the plumber. Because plumbers have to stub stuff up a lot more than you do in slabs, whether it's stub ups for P-traps or stub up or whatever it is they have to stub up. They know how to measure off of things and find out where the walls are. Reach out to them, build a relationship with them, ask them. Say, hey, guy, look, I want to make sure that my stuff gets in the wall right. How do I measure it off a blueprint? Don't be afraid. I think the biggest thing that I run into, and I do a lot of consulting to electricians, is they let their pride get in the way and they don't want to ask a freaking question. There is no dumb question. Just ask the question. You know what I'm saying? Just ask the question because you're going to learn from it. And you can learn something from a seasoned plumber. You can learn something from a seasoned mechanical guy. You can learn something from a seasoned electrician, the old guy who maybe don't know his code as good as you. Okay, maybe they go on TikTok and post some garbage. Okay, but at the end of the day, there are other little skills that they can teach you. Okay, little tips and tricks. So apprentices and journeymans, shut this, do this, and listen more. Listen more. Best advice I can give a young person today. Shut up and listen. Okay. Sorry about that. Paul's little rant for the day. Get you. Hey, what do y'all think? Y'all think they're going to find P. Diddy guilty? Huh? How about a little controversy today over TikTok? You think P. Diddy, what do you think the verdict's going to be? Guilty or acquitted? Maybe your electrician engineer really don't care. Probably don't. Okay. All right. Let's see here. Okay, so we got no laundry. We got no small appliance. Okay. Now, remember, that is your general lighting load, just like you might have done at a service, just like you've done anywhere else. And it could be, folks, it could be that in this dwelling, we just have 2 feeder panels. So there may be just a main breaker, no loads coming out of it, and we have 2 separate feeder panels, right? So we're doing the whole dwelling's load calculation, and we need to do each feeder panel at a time, right? One over here, one over here. We're still sizing the feeder, but the overall load calculation from this feeder panel and this feeder panel could be what we're using to size the whole dwelling, that type of thing, okay? So again, there's many flavors of way to do this, okay? We're just focusing on this one feeder panel. That's it, okay? AJ says cook him. Guilty. Chad says guilty. All right, we got some opinions in here. That's what I'm talking about. I asked for it. I asked for the opinions. Let's go. All right. All right, so what appliances are being added on this feeder panel? All right, well, they got a water heater. Okay, right here. Oops. There you go. I'll pop up. You know what? That doesn't look good. You can't really see it all, but I'll dictate it to you. I want you to see the numbers more than anything. So we've got a water heater. Well, you can see it. We'll do this. You got a water heater here. That's 4,500 VA. Now, remember, if it's watts, then it's synonymous with VA, especially for a load calculation. So again, some people say, hey, my water heater is given to me in watts, Paul. Well, watts and VA is synonymous, okay? Let's see here. Water pump, it's 8 amps, 8 amp water pump at 240 volts, okay? We're nice enough that they actually gave us the amps here. We didn't have to go, anything else. So there it is, 1920. Don't trust me. You can do the math here if you want. Y'all know how to convert this, right? 240 volts and 8 amps, okay? And it's 8 times 240. Y'all know how to do that, right? This ain't brain surgery, dude. This is coffee hour, bro. We already know that extensive electrical math knowledge, don't we? We all electric engineers here is what we call it. All right, so next is hydro massage bathtub is being added. Okay, so we're assuming they're giving us a value of 1,200 VA. I'm assuming that's what that pump is for that hydro massage bathtub. Y'all know the difference between a hot tub and a spa and a hydro massage bathtub, don't you? Hydro massage bathtub is typically designed to be drained after every use, whereas a spa or hot tub is not. And it's usually has other things involved with a hot tub or spa that you're not going to get with a hydro massage bathtub. It's typically uses a hot water from the normal plumbing system. And then, of course, it has a blower motor on it that blows and moves the water. I should say blower. It moves the water around, and then you drain it after every use. So anyway, that's 1,200 VA for that. And then we have attic exhaust fans. Okay, that is 695 VA. Okay, so we have to include these exhaust fans in here in the appliances. Now, you might be thinking, Paul, what about if I had an exhaust fan that was under 500, okay? Or it was a motor that was, less than a quarter horsepower. Well, guess what? You don't count it as an appliance. You say, okay, don't worry about it, right? When it comes to the appliance application. All right, so anyway, so these are attic exhaust fans, 696. And then we got a heat vent lamp light combo, and they got 2 of them down there. Okay, at 1,500 VA each. Okay, putting out some heat, baby. Got some resistive heat going on down here. Okay, this is a 1,500 VA. It's like 2 damn hair dryers going on. So that's 3,000, right? So you add up all your appliances. Remember, nothing different, guys. This ain't brain surgery. This is using the standard method here. We're just using the standard. Obviously, you could use an optional method, but we're using the standard method. And in this scenario, we've got at least 4 appliances, don't we? So we got 1, 2, 3, 4. We actually have 6 appliances overall. So you add these numbers up, and that comes out to 11,316 VA. Okay, so we have our general lighting load right here. Oh, by the way, I didn't do this. Remember, your general lighting load does exactly the same way you do it, and we've done it before in a service, okay? We came up with the value, right, And here it's basically 5,436, right? So the first 3,000, right? We've got the first 3,000 at 100%. And then, of course, you've got the remaining at 35%, okay? So that would be 853. That's the remaining portion, right? And so totally, the general lighting total load is 3,853, okay? All right. Now, some people say, where did I get that, by the way? I'll just show you because I love to show you. Love to show things here on the show. So we've got this 5,436. So 5,436 minus 3,000. And that's where we had 2,436, right? And we times 0.35. And that is where we got the 852.6. And of course, we're going to round that to 853. That's where that all came from, okay? So yes, this feeder application, you most certainly get to apply the demand factors in 220.45. Most certainly do. Still applicable, okay? And so there's where that value is. And then here's your appliance values. And again, it was 11,316, but you and I both know that that is 4 or more. So we're going to be able to apply what? We're going to be able to apply a demand factor to that. And 220.53 says, hey, guess what? You can apply a 75% demand factor. Okay, so 11,316 times 0.75 is 8,487 VA, right? So that's what our appliance loads are. We have our general lighting and general use. We already have those two, so we're getting good. Now we have the other loads. Now in this specific panel is going to be seeing the AC. It's going to be seeing electric furnace. It's going to see the freezer, okay? Now, in this scenario is I want to show you really quickly, pop up this right here. Now, this is going to be hard to see, but don't worry, I'll show you around. Now, this is a form that is used. We don't really have this form. This is kind of a try breakdown form. We do have forms in our program, by the way, but this is one that's just kind of part of the lesson. And what I wanted to show you here is when we did this calc, there is the 18, there is the circuits, so you kind of see how many circuits are necessary, yada, yada, yada. There is our general lighting. There is the load calc that we calced out right there, okay, 3,853. And here's the appliances, by the way, down here. I know y'all got to see this on the right side of the screen. It's small, but bear with me. So this was the load calc right here. This is where the numbers we got. And then the 75%, that's where we got the 8,487. Now, when it comes down to the heat versus air conditioning and then the other loads, freezer and all that type of stuff, and of course that largest motor, we can't not think about the largest motor. If you'll notice that the electric furnace is 13,000 VA, okay? 13,000 VA. The AC, air conditioning, was 6,096. So again, they're not going to run at the same time. So 220.60 says that I can do the non-coincident loads. So one doesn't run over the other, and nothing's going to come close to that 13,000 for the heat. So you're going to be using the heat, right? The electric furnace. You're going to be using that. You're going to ignore the AC, right? Makes sense? Okay, so that's that's all we've done here is we took the furnace, right? And then it took the freezer. They have a freezer. Oops, click that. We have a freezer, and that was 696. And then, of course, you take 25% of the largest motor, and that was 480 VA. But we'll go back up here and say, which is the largest motor in here? Okay, so let's see here. Let's do T20. Is the largest motor here, looks like it is this water pump motor right there, 1920. So I'm going to be gathering that because it is the largest motor in this calculation. Then I'm going to do 1920 times 0.25, and that is where we get the 480. That's the largest motor in this calculation, okay? Where are we at? Okay, so that's where that is, 25% of the largest motor. So that gets 14,176. Okay, so now we have three things that we're adding up, right? All right. Very simple one here for this feeder panel. Very simple. We have our general lighting and general use that feeder conductors, and that's is going to C. We got that. That is 3853. We already did that math. Then we have the appliances that we looked at. Includes the 240-volt water heater, all that kind of good stuff. So that was after we applied the 75% demand. That was 8,487, right? We got that. And then the last one was those other loads, which is the heat, which was 13,000 VA was the heat value. And then we took that at 100%. And we also took the freezer, which was 696, added that to the 13,000. And of course, we had to find the largest motor. And the largest motor is going to be that water pump, okay? And then that's how we got the 480. Does that make sense? So we're adding all of that up. And so this is what we do right here. So it is 26,516. There's kind of what we added up. So there's the three things on the screen. The one on the left, from left to right, you've got the general use, general lighting for this space. You've got, or what's going to be seen by this feeder, and this panel is going to be supplying this space. We've got the 8,487. That's your appliances after the demands. And we got the 14,176. Again, that is the heat versus the AC. Obviously, the electric furnace was greater, plus the freezer, plus the largest motor at 125%. We're only trying to capture that 25%. Where do we get that? That's another thing that people seem to really get confused about in the NEC. They're like, where does it tell me to take the largest motor at 125%? Paul, where does it say that? Well, it says it in 220.50. It said, hey, if you got motors in this building, I need you to find the largest one and take it at 125%. Well, you've already taken the load of the appliances. Even though you've applied demand factors to it, originally you did take the value at 100. So all we're telling you to do is find that largest motor, and they'll capture 25% of it, okay? Just give me 25% additional that I need to add to this, because you've already taken it at 100%. Even though another demand may have been applied to it, that's irrelevant. We just need to find that largest motor, and based on 220.50, take it. Now, what does it say in 220.50? It says, hey, go look at 430.24. Now, why would I want to go look at 430.24? Because that's the rule for feeder sizing for multiple motors. It says, hey, take the largest motor at 125% and take the sum of all the other motors, which is 100%. So it's not that may be for conductor sizing, but because it's in 220.50, it's saying that's what you use to account for these motors. That's what you use. And so you use the concept of that 125. Since, again, we've already done the appliance or the motor, largest motor at 100%, we just need to get that 25%. So people say, well, that's just so damn confusing. Why didn't the code just tell you to do that? Again, this is not an instruction manual. You have to learn the nuances of the code. And that's why educators teach it. And again, you can say, well, I disagree with that. Well, you know, that's up to you. But that is how it's taught, and that's how it's applied, okay? And I explain this differently. I tell somebody, if you go to a commercial building that has multiple motors, and you're doing a load calc, and you're doing feeders, for example, you're going to take the largest motor at 125%, and you're going to take the sum of the other motors that are in the same group. And you're going to use that to size the feeder conductor. And it's okay. It's going to be fine. That's just how we do it, okay? If you disagree with it, the code panel eagerly awaits your public input. All right, now when it comes to the neutral, we're doing a little different with a neutral. So, okay, so we know what this, so 26,516 divided by 240 is 110 amps. Okay, so we have to have that feeder that's good for 110 amps, okay? So we need to make sure we size a feeder that can handle 110 amps, okay? Bear with me, stick with me. Stick with me, don't y'all leave now. Don't leave now. If your boss is knocking on the door saying, get your ass to work, say, wait a minute, boss man. I'm learning something here. We's learning something. All right, so 110 amps right here. All right, now, what about that neutral? All right, well, remember, let me pop this up. Remember something. That general use and general lighting, that is all neutral. That has all 120 volt loads. So you count every bit of that, okay? And you still use the value after you apply the demand factors, because what's good for the goose is good for the gander.
Woo, 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 woo. Big dog.
I'm just saying, if I can apply it to the ungrounded, I certainly can apply it to the grounded. So don't let that fool you. So I'm going to be doing that. So I get all of this. What about those appliances? Well, when it comes to the appliances, I'm only going to get those that are what? That are 120 volt loads because I'm doing the neutral. So I'm not going to include the water heater. I'm not going to include this one because this is a 240. Okay. But all of these look like they probably will be just 120 volt loads, right? So let's see what I've got here. Let's just do the math here. So I got 1200 and I've got the exhaust fan is 696 and I've got those two vents right there. That's 3000. So that equals 4,896. How many appliances do I have? Here's where people still get this confused. Can I apply the 75% demand factor in the neutral as well? Abso-freaking-lutely you can. Why wouldn't you? Hell yeah. So in this case, I'm like, all right, well, that's 4,896 times 0.75. And that's 3,000. Let's get you down here. So that's 3,000. Pop this back up. That's 3,672 if you do the math. Okay. And you're thinking, all right, now I'm down to the last one. What loads here? Okay, well, this is your third one. And so this one would go up and look, okay, these are the other loads. So you're thinking this electric furnace, 13,000. Well, you know you're not using that. That's a 240 volt load. Hello. There's no way 13,000 VA is going to be a 120 volt load. Use common sense, folks. Okay, that's a common sense thing. Okay. Now, the freezer, absolutely. And then, of course, you still have to account for the largest motor, but that would be the largest motor that has a 120 volt contribution, right? Not the 240 volt contribution, the 120 volt contribution. Okay, so in that scenario, we'll say, okay, here's your loads again. So again, so let's see here if I do, let's see here, let's see if I do this. Plus, let me add these numbers here. 696. Yeah, it's probably, let's see what other ones we got here. Oh, we got a hydro massage. Let's do this one here. 3 plus, what do we got here? 696. Okay. Oops, where we go here. All right, so we got our contribution here. So we've got here, it says, okay, so where we at? All right, so 1,196. Well, we still have to find the largest motor that's going to be of a neutral load. And it looks like of our appliances, let's see here, which ones we got? We got this one, and these two here. All right, so let's see if we can do some math here. All right, so we know we're going to be adding the attic exhaust fan, okay? Right, so that's got a neutral load to it, right? So let's see how many we got. So we got 1, and then we got 2, and we got 3, 4. Okay, so we have 4 items that have neutral contribution. So I'm going to add these up, 3,000, and I'm going to add up the 696. Work it with me, folks. Work it with me. And then I got the 1,200. These all have neutral loads. So add these up. And it's just good for you to be doing this on the side. Okay, doing it on the side for these. And let's see, what else do we got? And we've got this, let's add up this freezer. That is, did we already get the freezer? No, we didn't get the freezer here. So let's see here. What else do we got? Oh, we already got these. I'm sorry. We already got this. So all we're dealing with, my bad, all we're dealing with is these right here. We've already got that. We already did all those. Okay, that's what this number came from. Ooh, God, you got to pay attention. That's why the forms are so cool. And let me show you that real quick, just in case you didn't see it. This is the form, one of the forms. So I just want to show you. So where are we at here? Let me show you. It does it to the side over here. So here's your neutrals, right? So these are all your neutrals. So we already accounted for these, right? All we were looking for is the value that we got of neutral load down here, okay? All right. Oh, we already got those. Hold on. We want the neutral load down here. These three. And here you see the only one we get is that 696. And that was for, let's see if I can get down here, right here. That 696 is right here. That's the freezer. Oops, right here. That's the freezer. Damn it. Here we go. All right, that's the freezer, right? And basically that. And of course, let's go back up to, we got that one. Bring this back up. Let's go down again. All right, there we got the freezer, which is right here. And then, of course, we got the largest motor that we need to account for, okay? And the largest motor for the neutral loads, okay? Account for. So once you account for those, let's get back down here and get right up. There we go. Count for the largest motor. Now, what I might disagree with in this calculation, if anybody's noticed it, has anybody noticed what I might disagree with in this calculation? I always like to leave one thing out that kind of we can discuss, is that since it's using this 480 for its neutral calculation, and let me show you that it is, if you add this and this up, what does this give you, folks? I want to show you something. Always happens, and you got to pay attention. See if anybody's caught this in this load calc. Not going to make a difference, though, by the way, in the neutral, because it got to be a minimum size anyway. But I just want to show you something. So what is this? So in this one, it would be 696 plus the 480, right? And that's where we get the 1170. And you would think that is where they get this. Oops, that 1,196 for the neutral, right? Right? Okay, well, the problem is, if you go back up here and look at it, they're using the 1920. I don't know why it's doing that, folks. They're using the 1920 for the water pump. The problem is that water pump is a what? 240 volt. Okay, I'll screw it. There you go. You can't see it. Right there, 240 volt. So if you go look at their math and you scroll down for the neutral, right, you'll see that they're using right here, the neutral, that 480, right? And what is that coming from? That's coming from 25% of the largest motor, okay? But that motor is a 240 volt motor. It's not adding to the contribution to the neutral. So I find that personally as an error. That's why you always want to keep looking. So when it comes to the neutral load, specifically this last piece down here, right here, then I would not consider that as the neutral load, the largest motor that has a 120. So if I'm looking through the list and find the largest motor, I'm looking for what in here would have the largest contribution. And for me, as far as the motors, it would probably be the hydro massage bathtub motor, right? So that to me is 1,200. So 1,200 times 0.25 would be 300. And it's not a big difference. That's why I tell you folks, at the end of the day, that 25% is not going to make or break you. And it's certainly not going to make or break you in this neutral calculation. That's for freaking sure. But any rate, so I would actually say the value is less. I would say that this isn't 1196 personally. I would say that this would be, what was it? I would say it would be 696 for this portion plus 300. Okay. And so that would be a total of 996. So I would say personally, instead of this being 1196, I would say this would be 996. Why do I say that? And this is why this is a great lesson. Because personally, I think that when you're doing the neutral calculation, we only are looking for the neutral contribution. And it is using a motor that is a 240 volt motor. So you cannot use that for the neutral. Now you use that contribution for the ungrounded conductor sizing, but not the neutral. Okay. All right. Now you're going to see in a minute why that makes no difference. But again, you heard me tell you before, as long as you get in the ballpark, choose the best possible answer. Okay. Right? That type of thing. Rob, you got to finish your sentence, buddy. All right. Now, so in that case, the neutral, even in this scenario, would be 871, and I'm going to add these up to make sure they're right. 3853 plus 3672 plus 1196 is what they have. So they have 871.21. Now see, I'm going to redo this math because even the math doesn't add up. This is why you have to stop and do math. You really do, okay? What do you mean what I counted on a test? It's the same thing. If it's a neutral calculation and they want the neutral load, then you're looking for the neutral ones that have a neutral contribution. In our example, the water pump is 240 volts. It does not have a neutral contribution. So I use this lesson as an example to point out an error in a calculation. That's why I use this example. So in our case here, and then I'll show you why it's not going to matter, that type of thing. But on a test, yeah, if they're asking you to do a neutral load calculation for a load center, then you're going to make sure that when you're doing the neutral, you're counting the neutral loads, that type of thing, when it comes to sizing the neutral. Now, again, the code's going to require it to be a minimum size anyway, and we'll see that. But here, I just want to show you the math real quick and show you why you have to be careful. And this is a case, and I use this example for this lesson I used purposely because I already kind of knew what was going on here. So let's do this math again. 3853 plus 3672 plus, now what it says here, 1196. Okay, this says 8721. And of course, this says 8701. So you see that there's already an error. So what could have happened is that the lesson from one cycle to another cycle could have deviated. So what I personally think the value that should be here is that what I think this number should be, this 1196, what I think this should really be, and I'm sorry that's not letting me just show you the thing, right? What I think it really should be is 696 plus 300. And where did I get to 300? Because I think that this Hydro Massage bathtubs motor is the largest motor at 1200 VA. Okay, that's what I think it is. Okay, so 1200 times 0.25 is 300. And then of course, in this last stage, we're just getting this part. We've already done the appliances. We're just getting these other loads for the neutral. Then I would take that 696. So 300 plus the 696. I think it should be 996. Right there where it says, right here where it says 1196, I think it should be 996 personally. Okay, it's my personal opinion. All right, anyway, it's really not going to make that difference. You see it's 36 amps right here. So let's just do it what it would be if I did this calculation. 3853 plus 3672 plus, and I'm going to use my 996, and that would be 8521, right? And I'm going to do 8521 divided by 240, and that is 35.5. You're going to round it to 36. So do you see that even in this case, it doesn't make a difference? Y'all with me? Does everybody see what I did? So even when you're doing this, double check yourself. Never take anything for granted. That's part of being an electrician. Learn, learn, learn. Take your time. This is a published document. I know that there's an error in this published document. That is why I used it for an illustration today. Now, let's move beyond that, and let's just assume these are the numbers, okay? Because at the end of the day, for the neutral, it's not going to make a hill of beans, okay? Now, first of all, can I use 310.12 for this? That's a question of the day. And the answer is no, I cannot. Who knows the answer to that? Why can't I use the sizing allowance for the 83% in this example? Why can't I use this for this feeder? This is really important stuff to remember. The reason that I can't is because, remember, this said panel board A. That means there's another one in here. So remember, it also said it wasn't doing the small appliance and laundry. That means that tells you there's another loads that are being in some other panel. I cannot use 310.12, the 83%, unless the panel that it's supplying, that feeder, unless it's seeing 100% of the dwelling's load. That's it. The moment that it is not, you cannot use the 83% rule as it's written in 310.12. One of the most important things for you folks to remember. Okay. On normal services, normal application, okay, then you can apply 310.12. David, absolutely right. David says because it's not serving the whole load. Absolutely. Now, some people say to me, well, Paul, that makes no damn sense because if it's serving less loads, it should be okay. Well, it has to do with diversity. So when you have a set of conductors that are actually experiencing all of the loads, then there's enough cancellation effect, there's enough diversity that the conductors are actually going to see less current. So again, it's just one of those things that you have to just understand diversity in the load calculation, okay? So less calculation effect. So in this case, we're going to be sizing conductors and sizing all this stuff based on 310.16. We're going to be ignoring the 83% rule in 310.12, okay? Important thing to remember, and don't get thrown on an exam where they may ask you a question and they may give you a question and it's to a feeder and it may say feeder A to panel A. That's a dead giveaway that there's other loads in this building, okay? So again, think about it. Okay, just read the question, be patient, you'll get it, but don't be so quick to think, oh, I can use the 83%. Just don't be that quick to judge. Okay, now, so in this case, it's a 110 amp panel. So it says the feeder does not supply the entire load of the dwelling, so we're not permitted to use 310.12. Absolutely not. To determine the size of the feeder conductors, we will select the size of the conductors from table 310.16. Abso-freaking-lutely we will. Now, based on the overcurrent devices for this feeder is expected to be rated 125 amperes, we can use 2 copper conductors with 75 degrees C insulation for the ungrounded conductors. Okay, then we'll go look at the code. Let's pop over to the NEC real quick. And let's go down to 310.16 just to verify, trust but verify. You know that old saying? I tell people all the time, don't believe what I say. Validate what I say. Okay, I would like to think I'm a trusted resource, but do your own work. Be your own man. Be your own woman. You know what I'm saying? All right. So we're going to be under the 75 because it is over 100 amps. Okay, so we're going to be under the 75. And if you don't understand what I meant by when I said that, then you need to go look at 110.14C1. You'll understand what I'm talking about. Okay. All right. So anyway, let's go down here under the 75 and let's see what we need. So we said it was 110 amps. All right, so here's 100 right here. That's a 3. Oh, so close. Oh, so close. Oh, so close, but not close enough. So we go to 115. 115 gives me a 2 gauge. So that's why we said we're going to be doing a 2 gauge, okay? So they have an ampacity of 115. But it exceeds the load calculation, exceeds the 110 rating, okay? So of the overcurrent device, the 110, why you say, Paul, what are you talking about? Well, we're going to now go look at 240.6 for selecting of overcurrent devices. Standard ratings. Here we go. Boom. All right, here's some standard ratings right here. We see a 100. Yeah, but we're over that, so that ain't going to help us. And here's the next standard size is a 110. Yeah, but we have the conductor, and so our conductor is, in this case, it's a feeder application, right? So we need to, well, what did our load calc come to? Our load calc is 110, all right? So exceeds the calculated load of 110, all right? So there we're good. So protecting conductors have an ampacity of 115. We're going to be protecting them at 125 amperes, okay? We're going to be using the round up rule, okay? This conductor has an ampacity, okay, of the 110. We're going to be putting it on the 120, okay? Because the conductor has an ampacity of 115, all right? So protecting those conductors. We're not using the 83%, that type of thing, okay? All right, now, other people say, well, Paul, wait a minute. What about that's for services. Let's see here. Let's go into feeders because we're doing a feeder. I love doing these little things. So let's go into feeders real quick. Boom. Okay. All right. Overcurrent protection. Boom. Let's go down here. Okay. So here's overcurrent protection. It says a feeder shall be protected against overcurrent in accordance with part 1 of 240. Okay. Let's see. And again, where it supplies continuous loads and a combination of continuous and non-continuous. We didn't have any of that brought into our equation, so we're not worrying about that. So we're following in accordance with part 1 of 240. And if I click that, here's part 1 of 240. These are your general requirements. And we're going to be protecting these conductors at its ampacity. This ampacity, these conductors are protection of conductors. Okay. Okay, there you go. And this is why we're using the next size up, because it's not over 800 amps. Okay. So let's kind of go back to the lesson real quick. Another person asked me one time, they said, okay, Paul, I'm using a 115 amp rated conductor. I'm like, okay. The load was calculated at 110. Okay. That's what my load calc was. Can I put it on a 110 amp overcurrent protected device? Well, sure, as long as the lugs will fit it, that's perfectly fine. That's up to you. But you are permitted, based on the way the code is written, to go to the next standard size and create you a little bit of a headroom there. Okay, perfectly okay if you want. Okay. All right. Now, we have a second panel, feeder panel 2. We're going to be doing that one tomorrow, by the way. So that's a second panel. But to this first panel, that's what we're going to be running. We're going to be running to this panel. And let's see if this pop-up does us any good. Let's pop this up again. Y'all can see it, very little of it. But we'll go down and see what it is at the very bottom. And there you go. There's all the totals that we got for everything. Right. You have some options. If you want to put it on a 115, put it on a 110, you do you, boo. It's perfectly fine. Your conductor's rated for 125 amps. The load calculation set is at 110. Okay, so your conductor's sized all right, that type of thing. But the code rules allow you to go to the next standard size, and that would be a 125, and it's still considered protected, and that's probably what you and I would do in the real world versus putting it on a 110, because obviously that 2 gauge copper can easily handle the 110 amps, so you're good to go. Okay, anybody got any questions about feeder? This is basic feeders, simple. Showed you the next size up rules, showed you how to size it, showed you can't use the 83% allowance and 310.12. You can't do that. Showed you how to treat the loads for this feeder panel. Okay, and that is exactly you're going to size the feeder to this panel. A panel could be a main lug only, right? That type of thing. Now you're going to make sure that the bus and the panel is rated at least 125 amps. Okay, so again, you're probably not going to find one rated 115, right? And 100 rated panel would be too low, too small. So we're probably going to choose a 125 amp main lug only remote distribution panel. Separate the grounds and neutrals. Okay, we don't want to violate 250.24b. I see this all the time on the internet. Violations. Even those pictures that people leave the green screw in there, but it's not screwed all the way in. I think they're wanting us to actually use that picture to start a debate. And the moment you say something, remove that green screw, somebody jumps in and goes, well, it's not screwed in, Paul. Here's the deal. Take the damn thing out. What we don't want is a happy-go-lucky home inspector to come walking along and say, oh, that's a violation. You should need to screw that green screw in. Here, I'll take care of that for you. We don't want that to happen. And I'm not being mean to the home inspectors, but sometimes people, a little bit of knowledge can be really, really dangerous, okay? And so they get in there and they say, well, the screw's there for a reason. I should use it. And then you create a bigger hazard. Make sense? We don't want to do that. Okay, so if it's a remote distribution panel, take the damn screw out. Only exception to that is if you're rapidly using that bus for the equipment grounds and then you're isolating your neutral, then you can use a screw if you want. Doesn't matter. You just make sure that your neutrals and your grounds are not intimate downstream to a remote distribution panel. Make sense? Okay. It hasn't been allowed for decades now, so don't start screwing up today. All right, so let's go to some giveaways. Y'all did great. Great show. Great stuff on today's episode. So let's go on and spin the wheel. Thomas, what does Thomas say? Provide the intent is more detrimental than debating over semantics. Absolutely. All right, let's go. Let's spin the wheel. right. This is wrong, by the way. It's going to be September 30th is the last day for the drawing. So again, September 30th. Now, Edward, if you're already in the drawing for one of these, you'll just be added to the drawing. But this is the NFC cards. We sent out quite a few of those. Those are pretty neat cards. You can reprogram these. At one point, these were over $100 and some that we were selling these NFC. They were called the Smart Card. You can reprogram the card if you want, or you can leave it with our coffee hour stuff and all of our good stuff and share the love with the electricians. That's up to you. But you're in the drawing for one of those. Let's go. For those on TikTok, if you want to win some goodies, you got to go over to the live stream and hit #win to get in on the spin. Now, if people that have a Minimalist wallet, we have many different designs and more are being added all the time. So we even have the newest one for the folks that have been in the Fast Tracks program, that the Code Strong one. We even have that. So we have a bunch of different designs. You don't have to get the one with the Master or Journeyman on it. We got another one that says you can't fix stupid. That's a neat one, that type of thing. So again, so if you win that, you get to pick whatever you want when it comes to the Minimalist wallet. Okay, so again, all right, so congratulations to you on that drawing. And remember, folks, it's September 30th, not June. This is for the last quarter. I just was too lazy to change it because I'm a lazy man. All right, let's see what we got going on here. All right, Seattle. Oh, an NFC promotion card. All right. And again, you can program it whatever you want once you get it. And if you want to know how to do that, I will be more than happy to help you program it. All right, let's do this again. Not difficult at all. Just a couple seconds to program. From any phone, any cell phone you have. I'll show you how to do it. All you have to do is have NFC on your phone, and I don't know of any phone today that doesn't have NFC. Manny Sanchez. Manny has bought quite a few things over on our shop. We appreciate you, Manny. You are in the drawing for the ultimate coin. Congratulations. All right, let's do another drawing. Again, the drawing is going to be September 30th. Ignore this. Ignore that. Just look the other way. We're in the drawing for the Fast Tracks tube, the basic. The Trade Hog. Okay, everybody's loving that Trade Hog. We just had an update to it. Okay, so again, the model's learning more and more and more. So we just also had a big group of inspectors at a municipality join, and we gave a special rate to all the inspectors that joined, so they can use it out in the field to help make their reports better, that type of thing. So they're using it on their tablets because it's web-based, that type of thing. So they can do it and ask for it to write a response and check the grammar and all this kind of other stuff. So they're using it to help their reports out in the field and provide accurate code references. And they know a lot about code too, so it allows them to validate, and then they can ask deeper questions. Hey, how you use it's totally up to you. Oh, by the way, we do now have annual memberships for that, so that you do not have to do the month to month if you don't like the month to month. A lot of people don't like month to month. It's all good. What's up, Shameless? Glad to have you here, my friend. Better late than never, right? Okay, one more. Glad you got rid of the mind-controlling spin wheel. All right, let's go again here. last one for today. And look for the show the end of this week or next week where we're going to do the drawings out of the good old CMECP hat and give you a special. Y'all all know that the ultimate coin is my favorite coin. I carry it with me when we go out and all. It settles all the debates. Okay. When we're arguing, I just let the coin decide. You know what I'm saying? Keep it simple. All right. All right, folks. We made it through another quarter. We started another one. I'm just blessed to be able to be here with you every morning. And I know there's other things you can do. And I know that you indulge me because I go down different trains of thought. Again, I have a bad case of attention deficit disorder. I've always had it. I don't look at it I look at it as not a curse, but as a benefit to me because I have my hands in so many things. Okay. Oh, I should mention before I go, we did start a new division here. 2 new divisions, actually, or well, not 2 divisions, 1 new service and 1 new division. Okay, so most people know that I create a lot of graphics for publications and illustrations for books and other places who will write articles and blogs and they need electrical graphics. I do that. We have a service that we've done that, but it really wasn't really formal. Now we do. It's called 4-Aught Productions. So again, like 4-Aught, like in The Wire, 4-Aught. So it's 4-Aught Productions. We will create courses, specialized graphics. It's just a different division so that we can kind of keep that out. And I have folks that work on that. They usually contract work, but I also create a lot of those graphics too. So we had to get that out of the company, ECA, as a division. Don't ask me why. That's what our attorneys said. And then also, y'all know that I added PullSpec, which is a service. PullSpec allows us to do pull calculations for more complex installations where they need a certificate of accuracy. Those type of things for long major pulls, a second set of eyes, if you will, that type of thing. So we added those services. So check those out if you get a chance. If you're interested in them, check them out. All right, folks. Till next time, stay safe. God bless. And if you want a really good electrical exam prep or an NEC learning program, check out fasttracksystem.com if you're not already a member, but I know most of you are. Till next time, folks, stay safe.